Okay, thank you very much, Pedro, for granting us the interview. It's a pleasure to be here with you. Okay, may I ask you to introduce yourself and your company?
Yeah, sure. So I'm Petru Capatina. I'm 26. I'm CEO and co-founder of WeGlad, which is a company born in Italy, Torino. Basically, we are some sort of Waze-like application, so like Waze and Google Maps. Only we focus on the mobility of people with physical disabilities and difficulties. So most of the people that have difficulties into interacting with the environment usually have tough times going from point A to point B because there are many, problems in the streets, holes in the ground, things that don't work, and so on. So what we try to do is to map all the accessible, streets so that people can sort of navigate all the kind of problems on the street and sort out the best destination for them. But we also do that for the buildings. So, for example, can I get inside the post office, a hotel, restaurant, and so on? Can I have a good space of maneuver inside? Is the bathroom working for a person in wheelchair, a severely obese person, or an elder one, or a parent pushing a pushchair? So this is what we do mostly.
Okay, great. Okay, so how did you start your business and why?
Well, we started it at first in 2019, but then we sort of pivoted super big in 2021. Um, it was about friends meeting at the university and also other friends in different kinds of projects. During university, usually you wanna maybe work also in pro bono, maybe you do internships, and you meet a lot of people, and usually some ideas come up, and but rather than ideas, usually the concept of big opportunities ahead come up, and when when you find people that you can really connect with, then you sort of wanna have success together and sort of push each other, and this is what happened. And it happened mostly with my actual founder Paolo. We connected, and we are both working on different kinds of uh, both pro bono, not uh, projects concerning technology, and we are very passionate about the speed of the exponential technologies and the impact it's going to have on the world. So, and then this got us to the why. So the why is like a two-step process for us. First, we realized that in the world of high-speed technology, where you can see, the Moore's law, that technology is cheaper 2 times every year, and the speed is going up, and you have, everything from blockchain to IoT to AI to space technology to genomics and so on that's going so fast. Then there was no point to climb the social ladder in a different way rather than being an entrepreneur, because it's faster, you have a better return than invested. We were both economists, so this concept of opportunity cost for us was very strong, and so this had to be the way. But on the other side, we wanted to use this exponential curve of technology to do good, to create impact either on society or the environment. So we have many challenges to work as a planet, and we thought that now is the great time because you can do in 10 years what then before you needed 200 years, because technology makes it that fast. And this connected with our personal why, which is Paulo had both grandfathers with legs amputated because of feet diabetes. So they were in a wheelchair, and Paulo was trying to push them around, and there was always problems. For example, going to drinking coffee or going to the restaurant, and this made him mad because he realized that 90% of the facilities are not for everybody. And when he wanted to find something accessible, he didn't have the data. On the other side, he also worked on the Caselle airport, where he onboarded people with disabilities during the university. And again, he basically noticed that the problem that he had in the family was actually a bigger problem in the globe. On my side, I basically was hit by a car while I was in traveling with a bike, and it didn't break my legs, but it broke my possibility to move my legs for 3-4 months. I didn't recuperate it 100%, but it was I learned to not give my legs for granted. So when Paolo were brainstorming about like what we could use good tech for, then this pumped up, and I said, "Wow, damn! I know what that means because it happened to me, and it's so valuable to actually be able to move around." So then it started.
Oh, that's a very beautiful story. Okay, so I guess this is connected to the following question, which is where did the idea come from? I suppose it's from your
Personal experiences and let's say the university sort of aura helped us boil it, and put it in place.
Okay. Okay, where did you get the funds to start from?
Well, first time, I'm gonna say this because it's important, I think, for any aspiring entrepreneur. So the first time I actually got the funding from a business angel, and this was 2019. We had the unluck to get the cash too fast. So we had the idea from two people who became six in like, I don't know, like 2 months or something. We found a great investor for our idea, or so we thought. And we pitched him. He said, "Okay, I'm gonna give you the money." After 1 week, he made us open the company, put the money in, and we started, operating. Now the problem was that we were not structured. We had no idea what we were doing. The investor was a purely financial investor, so wasn't what's called, in the startup jargon, smart money. He didn't help us with anything, no guidance, no nothing. And so we had money. So imagine like five dumb minds of young minds with cash. It's the worst thing that can happen. So the idea wasn't validated. There were many problems that we didn't sort out. We're just very happy that we can challenge the world, and this is what actually led us to failure the first time. We failed many times, but this was an important thing because when I talk to founders, I always say cash is like your last problem. It's never cash the problem. There's abundance of cash everywhere. It's the validation that matters. So we found the money from an angel, but then when we actually started over the company at the second time with way more structure, some way more experience and validation and so on, we got actually we were lucky to be accelerated by Techstars, which is basically the second most important global tech accelerator in the world, and it's very prestigious. We were lucky to be there, and after the acceleration, basically 3-4 of our mentors and advisors decided to invest, and and then after that we did another round with different kinds of business angels, and then now closing another round with some institutional investors. So this is sort of the roadmap.
Okay. Okay, and now you told me a very interesting part, which is connected to the following question, which is basically how many times have you failed until you find the right path, until you started WeGlad? This question.
I think I failed many times. I always try to connect because this is why I always tell people that they have to do lots of experiences to be a good entrepreneur. And I think my failure started even before WeGlad, because I was in charge of for example, Innovation Hub. I was in charge of big pro bono project. I even worked in the corporate, also in consulting, and then for a public in a public field, and then even for a political party. So and I failed many times in all of these, learning how to better communicate, better structure work, and so on. I say this because it's not banal. I mean, you don't just fail as an entrepreneur. You can fail. As lacking a competence. You can fail as structuring a communication. You can fail many times. So after all, like let's say 3-4 big fails in my also becoming as a professional. Then I thought I had tough skin to be entrepreneur, and I was wrong because as an entrepreneur I failed 5 times. But the major one was basically 2 times when the first company basically didn't last long. After 1 year, we had to liquidate the company. So really, we closed it. We were just lucky enough to buy some of the assets and then pour it in the second one because some things were actually connected. But it is because I failed big the first time. I managed to get the good out of my fail and then pivot and transform into a different business model, what actually the small things that work in the first one to create a business for the second one. And this business is working fine. And this is because of the big fail I did. So let's say 5 general failures, 2 big ones, with the first made me close the company, and the second made me completely change the business model and the structure of the company.
Okay. Okay. So next question. Is it important for you to have a good level of academic education in order to start a business?
That's a good question. I think, well, for example, in Silicon Valley, they say your company is worth 150K for each engineer and minus 100K for each MBA, you know, because now they say that tech guys are more important than the blah blah business guys. But on my side, I think education is very important. I think smart education is very important. So it depends. I mean, we all know that not all education is good. Not all education levels and elevates you uh, to to a standard that is required in some markets. But at the end of the day, the best education is the one that it's fitting with what is your long-term but also short-term strategy of life. Education is about finding your own path in the professional world, and it starts by having that trajectory of what you want to do. I think it's more about that rather than what you study. It's how you move towards what you want to become as a human being, and where you want to put the competences that you want to learn towards the purpose as a bright human mind. And because if you go business or you go law or you go I don't know science or mathematics, for example, you can always be entrepreneur, right? Because entrepreneur is about finding a good, heavy and intense problem and then find a solution to it. And there are problems in any field, and whatever you study, you'll notice problems there, and then you can apply solutions and be the entrepreneur that gets paid to actually solve that solution in a scalable way. So from that point of view, education is important. It's more important in the technical fields because it's quite impossible, you know, to build a rocket if you don't know things about physics and atmosphere and so on, mathematics and blah blah. So that's for sure. But I would also recommend to always, mostly, not waste the, let's say, academia time without parallelizing it with a concrete practical opportunities, because the best people that I've seen in execution weren't the ones with the best grades, even though I also know some of those. Overall, they had good grades anyway, but were the ones that managed to, you know, have a dual life of learning something, but putting it into execution. So having a very clear empiric evidence of what you're studying and how does it work in the real world. Else is just many years of stacked levels of mnemonic studies that then won't going to help because you don't even have a reason to remember them, you know.
Sure, definitely. Okay. What challenges did you face within the process of starting and developing your business?
The first challenge was probably the biggest one, which is the team. Team is the probably most important thing in the world in anything you do. Bring the right people. With the right people, you can, everything good that you do. It's the experience. It's 10 times stronger, and every time you fail, you don't feel it as much because you have the team, that supports. So you live better when you succeed, and you don't hurt so much when you fail. And the competences of the team are most important. So finding the right team, it's very, very challenging. And the more you actually, this is also a good point. The more you get farther from the academia world, the harder it is to actually be in an environment when you have many talents and many minds, you can actually connect super fast and talk about your business and maybe get them on board, so while I always had people to flow in all my projects during university, after that it was tough, because yeah, it's harder to actually find the right people, and you don't live in proximity with them. So I would say teaming was the biggest challenge. Second one was finding a viable business model for the company and validating it. Because while it's pretty easy if you're smart to validate what's called the problem solution fit. So there's a problem, there's a solution. Okay, does this, sort of hypothetically solve this? Okay. But then the next step is the product market fit, and the product market fit leads you to actually be able to sell something on the market. And it assumes that there is something willing to pay for that. Now, it's very hard to actually validate that because you have to go to clients. In my case, the clients are corporates. So selling to companies that do more than $500 million of revenues, the product is super hard as a startupper, but it's also hard to validate it because you can just go to, in my case, the HR or CSR manager and say, will you pay, I don't know, 20K for my project? And if they say yes, how strong is that yes? How can they validate that it's real and they would really pay? And sometimes it just happened on my first business, where I had many yeses, but in the end weren't real ones. You never really know what's the value of data that you get, and you really need to be able to put it on field and see that actually cash is going to be poured in and people going to really pay for the service and going to be happy about that. So yeah, validation, would say team, and overall organizing all the operations, because most of the times at the beginning, sorry, the team is very small, as in our case, and you have to deal with billions of things. So you have the strategy, you have the operations, you have the business development, you have the funding, you have the legal, you have the tech, and so on. And in our case, we started like the current company started it in two. So on my side, I did like 4 or 5 macro areas, and I had to learn about that. So I never knew very vertical things about legal, but I had to learn how to do them, about how to do well funding, how to digitalize sales, how to, and that was very challenging. Now I feel great about that as an entrepreneur because I can understand all of that, and then I can also guide the team. But at first, it was super tough.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can imagine. Okay. Did you have any support along this process, during this process?
Yeah, of course. I think every entrepreneur that has a minimum of success has support. We actually, as a team, our main characteristic is that we define ourselves as very coachable people. So most of the time, we try to find advisors and mentors and people that can coach and guide us. And actually, I built through that a network of 20 people that most of them are investors and advisors. And they talk to them, all 20, one time a month, which is basically 1 hour where 20 people like shoot questions to me and challenge me in every way on anything. So there's maybe a mentor that is global manager in HR. Someone is expert in fundraising. Someone is big executive in corporate finance, and so on. And they all like challenge me on their vertical. So it means that they ask me tough questions on things that they know 10 times better than me, but it's to stimulate me to think, to know if I'm doing things right, to know if I need to pivot some direction or I lost sight of something. and I do this because all my biggest switches of position were because I got help from expert people, and so I made it company culture. Getting help is important.
Okay. Okay. At what point did you understand that your business was going to be a successful one, that you were on the right path?
Two moments. The first one is, so as I said, we have the users, which are people in a wheelchair, and people with physical difficulties or disabilities. And the other side, the corporates that pay. So users and paying client corporate. The first one was when we did the WeGlad Day, which was the first, let's say, institutional event where we invited all the public parties that well, from the municipality. We invited all the NGOs of the territory, all our investors and prospect ones, all the communities. So it's a big event, and we let there was a part dedicated to our ambassadors in the community, and we gave the microphone to them, to talk like why what we're building helps them. There was no script around it. It was just them, the microphone, and a big audience that was there to hear the story. And we didn't even know what to expect from them. Well, like we as a founders hoped, okay, hope we don't, hope they say something good about us, and about what we're doing. And most of them actually started crying and saying that WeGlad changed their life for good. Even though in that moment we only had an MVP, so minimum viable product. We didn't have a big, functional solution. We had something that sort of worked and solved some of the problems, but not all of them. And we even had some bugs. But the community was there saying that we were changing their life, because even the fact that we were trying to do that for them was a big feeling of hope and humanitarian will to change what doesn't work. And it gave them freedom, it gave them hope, it gave them a good feeling and a good mood, and something to be part of. In fact, many of them actually became friends, and some lovers, and so on. And that was the first moment when I realized, wow, I mean, it's not just that it's good, it's very good. And I don't even have the full product, and they are so happy about it, genuinely happy. And this made me think that it's a good thing. And the second one was just on the first time that we did revenues on a corporate client, which was with a super huge product in Milan, where actually 6 corporates competitors signed in to do a project with us. And well, we have 6 corporates at once, and even some competitors that actually joined the same project because they believe in you. This usually doesn't happen because corporates don't do things with their competitors. They hate each other, and sometimes they do some open innovation, but it's weird that 6 competitors actually join a startup to do a project. And this made me understand that our purpose and way to communicate it is stronger than the friction and the immune system that the corporates have into interacting with us.
Wow. Okay, so let's go. Okay. How did your business face the pandemic? How did it survive to the pandemic?
It was tough in the start because yeah, we only had, I think, 30,000 euros left in no, 20,000 euros left in the cash as cash. And so first we lowered all the cash outflow. I think from burning back then it was like 5,000 a month. We went to 1.5 thousand a month, so super low because we didn't know like what would happen. And we spent all the time to try to build the community, and on the other side to basically just validate the business. So I was calling a lot of corporates and basically asking them like telling them the managers, the corporate, like, hey, can you like sort of listen to my model and maybe coach me it is the right one and so on. But it was actually an excuse to show it to them and then try to sell it to them. And this is what I did for like all the pandemic, which actually brought a lot of network up and made me actually do the funding after because it had a lot of interest. So it was weird because I had no working hours because in the pandemic you were home and you can work, and this actually drained a lot of energy. It was super hard at one point because I was working all the time, and uh, and uh, but actually we got a lot of network. And then the other side, my co-founder basically did the same, but on the community side. So he was having a lot of like digital meetings and workshops and stuff like that, where like every time there was more faces on the screen, and people talking about diversity and inclusion and the will to make the planet more accessible. And it was fun, but it was very how to say, detaching, at one point. It was hard to deal with.
Mhm. Okay. Okay. So this is a little bit more philosophical question. What does
Yes.
sorry?
Yeah, to go on.
So what does success mean for you?
But in our case, it's quite defined because for us, success it's connecting successfully the profit world, so from which we actually take scalability, abundance, and technology to impact. So to be able to impact either nature or humanity, society. And so for us, success is uniting these two things together and make it scalable. So it means um, to actually, doing something that matters, solving big problems. We always say that, you know, we have like really severe and big problems, and the time left is like so small, and feeling the urgency to solve that and doing it and fighting for it every day with a clear purpose in your mind, as a human being, but also as a team. I think that's success, because it makes you feel well. It makes you wake up every day saying that you're doing something and fighting for something that is meaningful. And success is feeling meaningful, is waking up and having a direction, having a purpose. And when you do, on our case, entrepreneurship, and you do it for impact, you have the chance to touch reality, touch reality and see how you can like shape it and make it better. And I think there is no bigger purpose for a human being to see that, yeah, actually your touch, your action counts, and it can make things change for the better. It's just so energizing.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so next question is, would you like at some point to become a business angel yourself?
Yes, definitely. I think like one of the most important things on everything is to give back. And actually, for example, in Techstars, which I said we were accelerated there, and Techstars is a very cultural, rather. I mean, okay, it's innovation, but the culture behind is very strong, and the main culture in Techstars is to give back. So all the networks, they have super executive networks, and they're there because they maybe years ago were accelerated, were helped, and so on. So it's all about receiving, but then giving, receiving, and then giving, and giving with more, resources, with more better attitude, better knowledge, better network, and so on. So I will definitely be a business angel one day, and actually I can't wait to do that and invest in young minds that want to change the world. I will only invest in impact that I know. So I won't invest in anything that doesn't create real value for the society or the planet. But I can't wait to be a business angel.
Okay. So what are your plans for the future?
Wow. That's so open.
Really open. So that's you can focus either on short or long term, but yeah.
Well, I mean, on the shorter side, I want to complete, let's say, the core positions in my team. So I need to expand my team and feel that all the core positions are covered, and I feel more comfortable on that. And that's something that it's really important for me. On the other side, we hopefully do a big round in spring this year. So we'll probably start raising in the end winter, and then hopefully in spring gonna do that, and that would help us, pour in a lot of technology and talents. So yeah, for the future, for me, it's very important to we want to be the first company to do like real, very deep and strong technology on the accessibility field. We want to show the humanity that you can really solve big problems with good tech, and we want to be a benchmark for that. We want to be remembered for that, and so it also goes into this sort of, let's say, direction of legacy. But it's not for personal reputation. It's to be a proof of concept, to prove a point, and that's the goal. But yeah, generally the goal is to be able to become global before we are acquired.
Sure. Okay, one last question. What is the most important thing, in your opinion, for a business?
Well, the one most important thing.
Yeah, that's something that is really important for at least.
I think there are. I could quote at least 5 things, but reducing it to one, I would probably sum it all up in the attitude. So because attitude for me, it groups the commitment that you have towards an idea and the willingness to start it. It groups the consistency to pursue it once you start it, and do it every day and be disciplined to do that. It groups the resilience and the adaptability to never back down, and how many times you fail, you just get up because you have a purpose behind that, and you're doing it for something way more bigger than yourself. And it groups that, for me, the cherry on the cake, which is the inspiring communication that then sort of explodes within you, and then you become a vehicle of with a good message, and which then becomes your pitch and your story and what you say to investors and stakeholders. But it's in you. I mean, I don't believe in founders, entrepreneurs that do business just by blah blah selling stuff. If you understand what deeply means being an entrepreneur, you'd never sell, because entrepreneurs don't sell. They solve problems, and they help with solution. They go where there is pain, and they give a solution. And when you understand that, then you understand that you're a vehicle for greatness, to do something good, to solve others pains and injuries. And so then when you know what you're doing and your message is framed, then you don't sell. You just and you don't even do storytelling. You do story being. You're a testament of leaving a mark in the world.
Okay, that's very enlightening. Okay, thank you very much, Petru, for this interview and for your time. It was a real pleasure.
Thanks a lot.
And
thanks, Fabrizio.
Thank you. And we'll speak soon again.
Definitely.
Okay. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.